I'd like us to focus on karma. Karma is one of the key teachings in the Buddhist world, and it's one that creates a great deal of confusion. Karma, in a literal meaning, is seeds. So karma is what you create by your actions. Actions of thought, words, and physical activity. So you plant a seed when you say something. You plant a seed when you do something. Later on, these seeds will manifest in your life when the conditions are appropriate, that they would blossom naturally. So it's like a kind of flower that would blossom when the conditions are right for that flower to blossom. In the same way, karma blossoms in your life when the conditions are such that it can bloom, that it can manifest. Now, the karma can be of a wholesome nature or an unwholesome nature. What makes it wholesome or unwholesome is your intention, not the result. This is a surprise to many people, but it makes sense when you stop and think about it. So I tell you, this man cut open this other man's chest and the man died. And you go, oh, what terrible karma for the man who did that and caused this man to die. But what if that man was a surgeon that was using the surgeon's knife to open the chest in order to do surgery on the heart? And he saves many, many lives in doing this process. His intention is to save lives, not to do harm. Versus someone who is using a knife and a mugging in some way, and as part of the robbery they get upset or they get afraid and they stab someone and that person dies. Their intent lacked any kind of wholesomeness. So the seeds of our intention are primarily, not exclusively, but are primarily what is meant by karma. And therefore what we are cultivating are wholesome seeds, having wise intention, loving kindness intention, non-harming intention. So often, people will confuse the planting of these seeds and the focus on our immediate actions with what is happening to us. It is true that in this moment, a number of different karmic seeds are blossoming in your life. The fact that you're even listening to this talk is a result of karma. But the Buddha referred to karma as a manifestation, as something that's imponderable. It is something we cannot understand. There are so many different seeds that are blossoming in this moment, that's making this moment. So we don't want to confuse the unfortunate things that happen in life as saying, well, they're deserved by that person. That would be a misunderstanding, as I have been taught the law of karma. We do affect our lives, but we're not in control of our lives. This is in contrast to everything is predestined, which many people throughout history have believed that everything's predestined, or that it's up to the whim of the gods. If the gods happen to be in a good mood and they favor you in that moment, then good things happen, not based on your actions at all, or based on a kind of just grace where good things happen or don't happen based on you're winning the favor of a particular god in some way. So karma is saying that you do affect your life, and that you can affect your life by being mindful and cultivating wise intention. That's the promise of karma. It's not predestined. You're not dependent on outside forces. You can make a difference in your own life. Now, how do you go about doing this? you see for yourself when you're doing acts that are ill-motivated, and you choose not to continue with these acts that are ill-motivated. It may be that your goal is it was formed out of an ignorance, and you realize, whoa, I didn't realize I would be causing suffering to others by doing this, so I will stop doing it. You don't then turn around and judge yourself for having had this goal. You just go, oh no, this goal causes suffering. Or, oh, this is a good goal. This is a fine goal. But I was so caught in getting it that my obsession with getting it, I was caught in my greed or caught in my aversion in such a way that my intention wasn't really on bringing relief to what was going on with me, but on having it my way. And in having it my way, I started employing unskillful means. I was inconsiderate of others, or I wasn't looking at the full consequences of what this would do in my own life. There's one aspect that I like to bring up that is worthy of consideration, and that is that in this moment of your life, so there you are at work, or there you are with your significant other, or with your children, and it's going really well, or it's not going so well. That moment is being produced by the blossoming of all this karma, but there is a more subtle distinction to be made. So let's suppose that you have a predisposition towards anger. Maybe you inherited this. Maybe this is part of your genetic makeup, that there's a kind of imbalance in your chemistry of your mind in such a way that it's easily irritated. It's very sensitive, and therefore it gets easily irritated. Or you were conditioned by your childhood. You had a parent that in some way that really fostered this environment where anger was something that developed, or some combination of that. So all right, so now you're a person who in fact gets angry. So in a given moment, your karma of anger is blossoming. Fair enough. But that means the energy of anger is coming up in that moment because the conditions were such that anger is being elicited. But you, in this very moment, where that anger is coming up as energy, can affect greatly how that karma manifests. So let's suppose that you are a man or a woman, doesn't matter really, and you have a tendency to hit out of anger. Your mother hit you, and you have a tendency to hit your child because that's just something that was so conditioned in. You, in that same moment where you feel anger towards the child, and you would just do some sort of a hitting, not necessarily hitting that hard, but some sort of acting out in that way. But because you're mindful, because you've worked on your intention, this energy of anger arises, but you are so present with it that it only takes the form of a thought and an impulse. You feel the anger, you feel it, the heat of it in your body, and you feel this impulse to strike out, but you don't. You just say something snappy, something nasty to the child or to some other person you're angry with. Then, let's suppose you keep working with this. Now you've really worked, but you still have this tendency of the mind to be angry. Now you're angry at some other person, and you feel the same heat in the body. You start to have an impulse to want to strike out, but you don't. Then you have a second impulse, this thought appears in your head to say this really nasty thing, and you have just a nasty thing to say that would be appropriate, but you don't do it. You've now so attended to this tendency towards anger in you that it is mitigated by the wholesomeness of your mindfulness and your intention to cease causing suffering. So yes, the anger is still there, but it only arises as thought and body sensation. Look at how much you have liberated yourself. It will pass much faster. You did not cause such harm to others by hitting or saying something terrible. You have gone a long way towards bringing an end to that karmic tendency. And we do this over and over again. And so that eventually, even if our disposition, our predisposition is towards anger, we cease to be defined by that anger. And it becomes more and more rare that it would really control our behavior, either in the form of action or speech. One other point to keep in mind about karma is that you are part of other people's karma. So when you see someone and they're having a hard time, it's not like, oh, well, that's just their karma. Oh, they're hurting. I can do something to relieve that in some way. When you act in that way, this is your karma of caring that's blossoming, but also they, through their karmic actions, have put themselves in your company. And so you can act in a way to help them. And it's appropriate to do so. I was dismayed when I first started teaching to have some people say to me, well, that's just their karma. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's like they deserved it. It's all hopeless and predestined. And that's not the teaching at all as I understand it. Just the opposite. If a person's sick and you can help them heal, if they're hurting and you can bring relief to the pain, if they're misdirected and you can bring direction in their lives, then you are being their good karma in that moment. So to be passive or withdrawn would not be wholesome behavior on your part. As we understand this more, we start to have a deep acceptance of life as it is. So we understand that we're not in control. We understand that many things that are happening to us in this moment have all had their seeds from long ago. So we have this ease with what is. But at the same time, we have this quiet, modest confidence that I'm going to meet this moment. I will respond to this moment as best I am able, because this is my value. And in doing that, you're creating karma for future moments, as well as affecting how this moment unfolds. So you're both bringing a kind of care to this moment of blossoming of karma and creating a few moment and creating a new moment in the future through the planting of the seed now. The fruit of all of this is that you start to have this positive relationship to life that's not based on conditions. You know that what matters to you is that you want to do what you can to bring the end of suffering in your life and the lives of others, moment to moment. And so you're about something. You've got an orientation, a grounding in your life. This is the teaching of karma.